I don't work here, lady. Story 1. Shot down Karen at Ross. As a security guard, I often have to deal with customers from stores. Normally it's to get them to leave if they're doing something the store doesn't like, but on this one day I got to tell off an impatient Karen at Ross. So for some backstory, I was stationed as security for a shopping center, and as part of my rounds when I would first clock in, I would check in with the Ross as I was always called in to help them with stopping someone from stealing. On this particular day, the store was packed. I was talking to the loss prevention, LP, person stationed at the door, checking in to see what manager was in charge for the night and seeing how the store had been so far. Out of the corner of my eye, I see two ladies standing at the jewelry counter waiting to be helped and glaring at us. LP informed me that he already called someone to help them, but they just hadn't gotten there yet as it was slammed and all hands were needed to ring customers out as the line was almost out the door, it was so long. As we are finishing up our talk, which was only maybe 3 minutes at most, I turn to walk out the door to finish my rounds when Karen suddenly yells towards me, "Excuse me. I need some help here," in a very rude tone. Not missing a beat, I turn around and look at her. "Ma'am, he already called someone for you," points to LP. As you can see, they are swamped and the line is long. Maybe you should grow some patience and learn to wait your turn. I then walked out of the store with the biggest smile on my face and my inner customer service representative clapping at finally being able to tell a Karen off. Story 2. I'm here to play, not to judge. Kind of a different angle for the "I don't work here" standard. I used to be big into the collectible card game Magic, the Gathering, subsequently called MTG. I was super into it, had thousands of dollars invested in decks, and even became a mid-tier judge in the competitive scene. This is significant because I was often the highest level judge in the room at card shops unless I was at a larger convention. And I was happy to answer judge questions at the card shops I visited. I have since stopped being a judge and don't play nearly as much as I once did. One of the regular things in any MTG community is going out to your local game store on Fridays for Friday Night Magic, FNM. I would regularly attend before becoming a judge, but stopped when I became a high-level judge since I was often working tournaments in the weekends. This was before the pandemic and the decline of the competitive scene. But one Friday I hadn't played in a while and got the mind to relax and go enjoy FNM. Remember when I said I generally was happy to answer questions? Well, this night I attended, the on-staff judge that worked for the store knew me and apparently decided they could take the night off. The first time someone called "Judge," nobody came. They yelled again, and nothing. They eventually went up to the front and asked for the judge. They soon came back to me and told me the store's staff judge said I would help them. Now, to be fair, I was the most knowledgeable judge in the room. But I really didn't want to. For one, it's not really the most ethical thing to have the judge be a player in the tournament. It happens at lower levels though. And for two, I wanted to relax. I wasn't there to work. Nevertheless, I obliged, not trying to be a stick in the mud. That said, during that round I had to get up and answer calls 3 more times. Now I loved being a judge. I really did. But this was not the night for me. I wanted to attend as a player. I was not an employee of the store and was not contracted to work with FNM. I decided to address the issue with the store judge in between rounds, but when I asked for him the worker told me he was busy sorting cards. Feeling a bit frustrated, I determined I was done with working on my night of fun. Before the second round got underway, rounds at this store were understood to start at the top of every hour. I politely informed the other players that I loved the community and loved being a judge, but that tonight I was here as a player, that I would not take judge calls the rest of the night. They all understood, and sure enough, in the first 5 minutes of the round, judge. Nothing. The person tried again, still nothing, and like the first person, went to the front to try and get the judge. They returned alone, and seemingly found a solution with their opponent. 5 minutes later, judge. And again they went to the front. This time however, the staff judge was following behind. Finally, I thought to myself. My relief was premature to say the least. The judge handled the player's issue and then, quite indignantly, approached me while I was still playing my game. Store judge. "Oh, why the heck aren't you taking these judge calls?" Me. "I'm not here to judge, I'm here to play FNM." Store judge. "You're an L2, you're the most qualified judge here, though. Plus I was about to clock out early since I don't have to judge tonight." Me. "I am the most knowledgeable, but as an L1 who I certified, you are more than capable of handling FNM level judge calls. As for your leaving early, I'm sorry you got confused, but I was never asked if I would judge this tournament. If you had asked me, I would have refused since I'm just here to play. I'm not going to judge this tournament. I just want to play some games and maybe win a pack or 2 of cards." Store judge. "But I already made plans, can't you help me out this once?" Me. "I made plans too, I plan to play FNM and not judge. I'm sorry, but no, I'm not judging." Store judge. "You're such a tool, op." He left my table and proceeded to judge the rest of the tournament. I would like to say he realized he was out of line later and apologized. But that's not what happened. Quite the opposite. We were never on friendly terms again. He would speak to me for absolutely necessary things, like if I was checking out. But he never let go of that night I refused to do his job for him. Story 3. An unexpected win-win. When most people say retail I imagine that they, like myself, think of people working in stores, restaurants, small shops, etc. This story deals with the medical field because greeters, people staffing the information desk, receptionists, and others also deal in customer, patient, client, consumer service. Recently I, 46F, had to take my special needs daughter, 25F, to go do her yearly blood labs. It's to monitor the levels of medication in her system amongst other things. Her usual lab was unavailable. There is construction happening that has closed access to that lab. So, we picked another location from the list of labs we could use. We ended at what I think of as a hospital complex. Instead of one hospital building that is connected to the other clinics surrounding it, like the one we live near, but is not on the list, this hospital consists of several buildings unconnected next to each other. They all look the same and the actual address for this place is non-existent. We've had to go here before, for another reason and of course in another building. Basically, unless you know exactly where your destination is, you will find yourself wandering about on an unplanned excursion. Now, the staff I have interacted with in the past, unless a medical practitioner, all wear fairly casual clothing. The only real thing differentiating them from a non-staffer, if they're not at their assigned station such as the information desk for example, is that staffers wear an ID on a lanyard. So, I pick a random building. Its outside sign had pharmacy listed, so I thought perhaps the lab would be nearby in said building. I got in and no one is there. No helpful information desk. No map saying, "You are here," on the wall. Just a small coffee, snack shack and two signs on the wall. One, listing in small print, providing which floors house which providers, and the other sign, much larger, with pharmacy, and an arrow on it pointing in a vague direction near a hallway that was partially hidden. I didn't bother with the coffee, snack shack because I doubted the one person working it wouldn't know. Also, they were already serving a couple of customers and I didn't want to risk wasting any more time than necessary on finding the lab. At this point I was sighing with frustration. I was on a time crunch and my daughter was getting antsy, when two older women approached me. I'm assuming they too were also a daughter-mother pair, ages maybe 50s for the younger one and 70s for the older one. The younger one was either desperate or didn't register that I wasn't wearing a staff ID. Either way, she approached me and inquired if I knew where the pharmacy was. I told her I didn't, but I pointed to the sign indicating where the pharmacy should be. She thanked me and proceeded to head that way. Out of desperation and the mindset of, you won't know unless you try, I asked her if by chance if she knew where the lab for drawing blood was. I was quite surprised that she did. She then sweetly gave me directions, which of course was the next building over with nothing outside of it to indicate there was a lab inside, and then proceeded to take who I presumed to be her mother to the pharmacy. All in all, it was a win-win situation. Story 4. Not military but right back at you. Sir, I'm sorry this isn't quite along the lines of someone working in a store and encountering a Karen, but this happened to my husband and it was funny. He was walking out of CVS earlier today just as another dude was walking into the CVS. Dude saw my husband and immediately put his hand up to his brow saluting face and said, "The feud. The proud." My husband was just like, "Oh okay," and kept walking. Not sure why that guy did that considering my husband is not in the military and never has been. Also, he was wearing a red O'Neill t-shirt and grey pants with a Toro Automation baseball hat. So dude was saluting an O'Neill shirt. Story 5. Almost. The other day, I was at the convenience store in my tiny Midwest town, getting some coffee. I'm not wearing anything resembling a uniform. As I'm about to put the lid on it, I noticed a young woman trying to get some breakfast items out of one of their warmers for her, presumably, two small kids. As kids do, they couldn't keep their hands to themselves and one started messing with the ice cream machine which, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't worked in the 4 years I've lived here. A boy of probably 6 or 7 shoved his arm up the metal tube clipped to the side used to dispense cones. Upon doing this, the tube dislodged from the machine, his jacketed arm still inside. Being a parent, without thinking, I reach over and held the tube so he can remove his arm. Seeing how it had been attached, I easily clipped it back onto the machine and went about fixing my coffee. Mom gets my attention and begins apologizing profusely. I looked at her and calmly said, "No worries. It's not like I work here." Without another word, she shifts her attention back to the kids. I didn't expect any further apology for the misunderstanding, so all was good in my universe. Story 6. Why do I look like I'm a worker? Could be what I was wearing, but multiple people in the past have also mistaken me as a worker even in normal clothing in a dress code place. Was actually at the mall with my so and were looking for a dress for a wedding we'll be helping with. So of course we stopped at all the stores inside. I was in the back of the store waiting for my so while he tried some clothes he was planning on switching out for the wedding. So as he takes a while I patiently wait right outside of the small dressing room, then I eye some on sale panties I like that are displayed a bit away from the dressing room, so I get out of the way from the entrance and start subtly sifting through them to see which designs I want. Keep in mind the workers are working in fashionable, all black tight clothing, but I wore more bright natural colors in loose clothing and in a skirt. Some teenager girl walks near me then kinda shifts in place before I turn to her and smile as a, "Oh hey there, haha, didn't mean to get in your way." She starts talking immediately though, "Oh can I use the dressing room please?" "Oh yeah you definitely can, haha." I responded like this because I had assumed she knew I wasn't a worker and that she just wanted to make sure if you could just walk into an open stall. But based on my response and relaxed tone, she made a face of pure embarrassment while gasping dramatically. Her mouth just hung open as she stared unblinkingly at me. "Oh my gosh, you don't work." Then she blinked her eyes tightly and did an embarrassed wanting to die inside screech laughter fish gasping for air sound. She was literally hunched over and moving in slow-mo as she laughed. Lol. She was even comfortable enough to even sloth clap her hand onto my shoulders and moving both of us around drunk-like because she was so intoxicated with her embarrassment and laughter. All of that. Before saying in a very whispery, raspy, dried-out laughter tone, "Here. I thought you were a worker here, haha." OFC, I laughed with her. I could see how my clean natural look might confuse her while I stood next to the dressing room. Maybe my panty hunt looked more like arranging the products. But after she wiped her laughter tears, apologized and went into the dressing room, and I told her it was fine and laughed back. My so eventually came out of the dressing room and told me he heard the entire thing, lol. And we head on over to the next store. To which, in short, another lady mistaken me as a worker in a dressing room. Thank you for watching.